So our topic is corporate land use and Indigenous health, uncovering the public health burden of resource extraction. I am going to be presenting the first part of or more or less just introduction, and my colleague, Dr. Kawalpreet Kaur, is going to present the rest of most of it. I'd just like to say, I'm an adjunct faculty at the University of Toronto. I work with students, I work with faculty, I work with immigrant doctors, and my work focuses on intercultural education, equity, diversity, and inclusion in healthcare. Dr. Kawalpreet, who is an immigrant doctor from India, is joining me today. She has been here in this country for several years, and you've all probably heard more recently that there's a shortage of doctors in Canada. 1 in 6 Canadians don't have a family doctor, and we have thousands of immigrant doctors who are not able to get a license to practice. So I try and encourage the immigrant doctors that I work with, especially the women, to sort of get involved and think of alternative career path as well. Because being a doctor is not just caring for the patient in the private or public clinic setting. There is more to human being, more to human health, more to human existence. And so I encourage our doctors to branch off and think of all those areas that you can really support health in our community. And so public health is one of them. There are other ones are biodiversity, social sciences. There are different areas people can work in. So I won't continue any further on that, but the next slide, if you don't mind, please. I'd like to tell you a little story about Turtle Island. Have you heard of Turtle Island? No? All right, so Turtle Island, that slide that you see, the top one, is water. And you can see those big, beautiful waves. Just above the water is a turtle. And sitting on the back of the turtle is a lady, a woman, with a beaver beside her and birds flying around. And I met Nana Kofi yesterday, and we were talking about turtles. And he had a ring with a turtle on it, so you were exchanging notes. When I finish telling you the story, I'll tell you what Nana's turtle, the symbol means on his turtle. So before times, history shows us, according to Indigenous groups, that there was only water and there was sky. In the sky world, that's where the Indigenous people lived. One day, there was a hole on that sky, and this woman fell through the hole. She fell into the water. The animals living in the water sort of picked her up and sort of carried her onto the back of the turtle. She was sitting there, and she was pregnant as well, and they felt sorry for her, and they were trying to help her. So the animals went deep down into the water to find some mud so that she could sit on mud. They finally found a muskrat, a tiny little muskrat, found some mud, brought it up, spread it on, give it to her. She spread it on the back of the turtle, and that mud started to grow. And it grew, and it grew, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it became trees and rivers and land. And that land is now called Turtle Island. And that Turtle Island is all of North America, Canada, and the US. So on that land, sweetgrass grew and still continues to grow. And that sweetgrass is what the Indigenous people use for incense, for comfort, for medicine, because they didn't have medicine then, so they would use the sweetgrass for medicine. Up to today, they use the sweetgrass. And I was at, I go to several Indigenous celebrations, and there's always smudging. And even at the University of Toronto conference that I go to, students' conferences, there's always smudging or talking about land acknowledgement. And they talked about sweetgrass. And when I was, last year, I was at Massey College at the University of Toronto. The elder there who came for the Truth and Reconciliation Day and was telling us all about Indigenous communities and people, she gave me the sweetgrass, which was braided in three, but as it seems, as it's there. So there's a tip, and then the larger part at the end. And she said, this sweetgrass, as it's braided, it represents harmony, unity, and peace. And I kept that grass. I was supposed to bring it today, but I forgot it on my desk. It's sitting on my desk. So I would like to extend that harmony, unity, and peace to all of you as you continue this important work that you're doing. So please accept that. The next slide, please. Now, we talked about land acknowledgement. This is mostly from the University of Toronto, where we always repeat or recite the land acknowledgement. People usually tell a story about, why they're so appreciative of the land. And I think it should be, and I've heard this as well, that really when we give a land acknowledgement, it really should be a prayer. And as we're thankful to the Indigenous people for starting this turtle island, for protecting it, for allowing us to live on it. So I'm going to read this acknowledgement, and if you can join me, you're welcome to stand if you'd like to, because it is really a prayer, but you don't have to. So I'll just read it out loudly, so pay attention to the words as well. It says, we wish to acknowledge this land on which we operate. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So there is Turtle Island, and that's what we always, most events at the University of Toronto, and I'm sure at a lot of other businesses and institutions, we do have some sort of land acknowledgement. So I'd like to share that with you. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this slide, it's a welcome of my colleagues here, many from the University of Toronto, sitting at that end table there. So we had a summer institute in Ghana last year with our professor, Nana George Day. So Nana had asked me if I would chair the planning committee for that group. I had been to Ghana once before in 2015 when his mom passed away. He invited me, and it was just such a beautiful experience. If you were here last night, you would have heard that the consulate from Guyana was talking about Guyana was just, or most of the Africans living in Guyana came from Africa, from Ghana. And when I went to Ghana in 2015, I was walking down the street with Nana, we go for morning jogs, I said to him, I really feel at home here, because being in that community and seeing the way people were living and walking and talking, I just felt like I was back home in Guyana decades ago. And that connection to the land of Ghana really made me feel like I belong and I'm part, and my ancestors are there as well. So when we went this summer in August, spent all of August in Ghana, it was an unimaginable opportunity. There are over 40 students from Canada and the US, faculty, leaders, advocates for anti-racism and decolonization. There were so many of us there, and then we worked and we lived and we socialized with the community. We danced and we sang and we ate together. We traveled long distances to different places. We really got to know each other and got to live in that community. And every one of my colleagues who came back from that trip have so many wonderful words and stories to share. So altogether, I'd like to thank Nana George Day for allowing us to go to Ghana to spend this amazing time there. And one of the other things that came out of that is, what have we if I had not met Mr. Kwame here via email, I think we met, I wouldn't have heard about the Ghana Parliament. I was thinking as we were going as an educational tour, it would be really great to be a part of that and go to the Ghana Parliament. And we were there. It was a fabulous opportunity. We got to meet the minister, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and sat in the Ghana Parliament. Students are saying that they had never been to a parliament here in Canada, but they end up in Ghana, and they were sitting in a parliament listening to a minister speaking. The local people in the community were also saying they've never been there. So that opportunity was inspiring. And I really want to thank Nana, the speaker this morning, who mentioned University of Toronto. University of Toronto, yes, is the best university in Toronto, in Canada. It's #1. We've been rated over the top 20 to 25 in the world in the last many, many years. We have 3 campuses spread across the Toronto region, 3 campuses. We have 100,000 students registered right now. We have 26,000 of those are international students, and 700 of our alumni are spread across the world. So when we're talking about doing the work that you're doing in India, in Africa, in different countries, in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, it's not just in your community. We have folks who are so excited about learning and education and come to the University of Toronto. And that's how we get this work going. When we talk about lifelong learning, educational environment, it's not just us sitting in silos working together by ourselves. It's how do we bring people together to work together, bring knowledges, bring minds together at the table. And once we get those minds together, we just don't leave it there. We make action plan. We keep moving forward. And yesterday we were talking about we need more young people here because, there are so many seniors. There were, I think, 4 or 5 young people last night. And I thought, we need our seniors as well. They do have a lot of knowledge that our young people don't have, that our young people can learn from them. And I would encourage all the folks here who are feeling old, or feeling like seniors, to don't feel that way, but come to the University of Toronto to continue your education, continue your learning. There are all kinds of certificate programs, and from that, you'll meet so many wonderful students who are eager to learn from you. We went to Ghana, and what was the motto or the premise of our trip was to sit at the feet of the elders and learn from them, right? Right. And so we're going to Ghana to learn at the feet of our elders. And we could do that here. We can bring you all here. So I am so excited to see my fellow colleagues from Ghana here today at this conference. And again, Kwame, thank you for putting this together. And I think, next slide, please. I have a video here which I'll show, but it's about 3 minutes. Maybe we'll pass on it. We can show it later. Next slide, please. And now I will call on my favorite IMG, who is going to take over from here, and she's going to lead you through on our conversation on land. Come on, Kawal. You take it from here.
Thank you, Dr. Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here and to meet all of you environmental enthusiasts. And Dr. Cindy has been very generously supporting so many internationally trained doctors, and I'm one of them. So environment is not my field, but I know that everything we have in our environment ultimately impacts our health and health as well. So I decided to throw in some indigenous public health and how is it affected by the environment into this conference. Before I start, I would like to talk a few things on the side note. So it's been nice learning about all the things that we've talked about, growing forests and saving the environment. But I'd like to point out one thing, that there are some things which are in our control and some things which are beyond our control. So all of a sudden, one day, a leader like Mr. Trump, he comes and says that there is nothing like climate change and nothing is happening. So these things, they are beyond our control, but what we can control is the use of reusable or disposable plastic, I would say. Since the morning, I've been observing that all of us are environmentalists, but very few of us have brought our own reusable water bottles. So just imagine, it's a very small thing, but has a huge impact on the environment. If everywhere we all went to, we had our own reusable bottle, imagine how much waste generation you would save in your lifetime. And one more thing, I noticed that nobody in the room is vegetarian. So just give it a thought. I'm a vegetarian, and I was seeing there are no vegetarian options. So just give it a thought. If all of us dish meat at least once a week, how much of methane would be not released into the environment, and the greenhouse impact would be way more or less. So I hope I'm not boring you too much, but glad to see people who should be more environmentally oriented. And one more thing, Canada and US, they are very high on consumerism. We are always buying one thing or the other. I need the latest gadget, the latest fashion. While if we look into developing countries, they are more happy with minimalism. And I try to do my duty towards the environment by being minimalistic. And my house, I have minimum use of disposables. So for today's talk, I'll be talking about Indigenous health and how it has been impacted adversely by the things that we have been doing to the environment. So the first objective for today is to learn about land use, mining, oil, gas development, and how is it damaging the ecosystem, and what kind of health impact assessments we actually need to do. Will you move to the next slide, please? So resource extraction, we all know it is needed for human survival, for development, but it's been happening on treaty protected and indigenous lands. And it's been out of control of these people, and it has led to serious health impacts in addition to cultural impacts on the people. And this has been very widely explained in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. Will you move to the next one, please? So historically also, we've seen that injustices have been done to the indigenous people in the form of residential schools, pandemics which were introduced into these non-immune populations. But in spite of that, indigenous communities kept fighting systemic oppressions, and they were the biggest advocate for climate justice. And in fact, UN has enlisted them as the people who protect the environment the most. Next, please. So this is a global overview of the indigenous population that we have all across the world. And unfortunately, the situation remains the same everywhere. There are similar stories from all corners of the globe. Indigenous people fighting to save their lands, their environment, and other people, the so-called Western civilizations, looking into exploiting the environmental resources. Next, please. So this is a very interesting slide. If you see, the indigenous population is just 6.2% of the globe. And if you see the last line, biodiversity stewardship, they are contributing to 80% of it. So they are the biggest environmentalists, I would say. And in spite of that, it is unfortunate to see that these people still have a life expectancy gap of 20 years from all other populations. Next, please. So I would like to recall a few things about the Indian Act, which was implemented in North America. And all of us must have heard about this in our school. How the discrimination against indigenous people led to higher rates of unemployment, lower income, higher suicide rates. Even if you study the indigenous populations all over the world, you will see that the suicide rates are higher than the general population in Canada as well, and they have higher rate of tuberculosis, mental health illnesses. So all this has been somehow brought by the environmental exploitation because they are very deeply attached to the environment. Next, please. So this is where the things started from. These people, they were living a happy life in their own secluded areas like the Turtle Island. And with the arrival of the Europeans, smallpox was introduced, which literally wiped out half of their population. And there were special things given to these native individuals, like literally called smallpox blankets, which were inoculated and which could infect these population. Next, please. Yeah. So the methods that we have used for our study is that we have reviewed the literature from 2010 to 2025, and we have tried to study the health impacts, the policy gaps, and the indigenous-led initiatives that have been helpful in protecting the environment. Next, please. So our findings have been that there are higher rates of all diseases ranging from cancer, neurological diseases, reproductive diseases, you name it and you have it. So all these diseases, right from the birth of a child, children are born with defective physical and mental development. So from head to toe, they are very badly affected, and the environment is affecting, the bad environment is affecting their health in a negative way. Next, please. So this is a simple slide which shows that if there is a land misuse in a particular area, the toxins, they tend to collect in that area, and they cause problems with the health of those people. For example, if I live near a landmine, a mine, and there is a lot of mining, I'll be exposed to all kinds of carcinogens like dust and everything, and I'll be more prone to diseases like lung cancer, among many others. Next, please. So the harms, they result because of systemic exclusion in governance. So these people, they are very closely attached to the land, and when they are excluded from making decisions linked to land exploitation, they feel more and more excluded and they become diseased. So yeah, you can go to the next. I think, yeah, thank you. So this table shows a few examples of some of the diseases that can occur, like airborne exposure leads to asthma, COPD, infections, and all sort of infections you can have, ranging from public health to mental health to even infectious diseases. Next, please. So this is again a chart which has shown that dangerous spills, they have been happening in the environment, and we hear this in the news every time. Like when there is some mining activity or extraction of some rare earth elements in the indigenous areas, there is spillage of things like mercury, which can be very harmful. And very frequently we've seen protests in Canada from these indigenous communities, especially with regard to the contamination of the drinking water as well. Next, please. So why does this difference arise? The difference is because indigenous and Western entrepreneurship, they differ in their thought process. Indigenous culture is more community-oriented, more of cooperation, and it looks at the community impact on the environment, and it is looked at above. These people, they think that the community impact is way beyond the profit, while the Western entrepreneurship is more focused on individualism and getting profits from the businesses that we have. Next, please. So the indigenous people say land is medicine. Why land is medicine for them? Because they use all kinds of herbs, shrubs, trees that are locally available. They have their own secret medicines. And when we disturb these ecosystems, we disturb their life. Next, please. This photograph beautifully shows the indigenous medicine wheel. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's not just focusing on health alone. It states that health is a combination of many factors, which include spirituality. So the elders are the one who are respected the most in the family, and they pass on the wisdom to the coming generations. So it's a strong interwoven thread of everything. Next. Truth and Reconciliation Commission, being in Canada, we are all aware of this commission, and it had looked very deeply into not just residential schools, but also into the impact on the health of Indigenous people. So the commission has done a lot of work in recognizing the way of Indigenous life, respecting the Indigenous way of living, and it has also called upon the governments to consider the impact that they are having on the environment. Next, please. So this policy, Policy 1824, it has been established again under the Truth and Reconciliation Policy experts. It urges that we should recognize the healthcare insights of Indigenous people, and we should look at all the healthcare issues that arise from the lack of clean water, disturbance of traditional food habits, and other culture and community chains in the Indigenous people. Next, please. So the Department of Family and Community Medicine, they have been doing some landmark work in conserving the environment and talking about Indigenous rights. And from here on, Dr. Cindy will be continuing further. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much, Kawal. So on that slide, it says DFCM. DFCM is my department. It's the Department of Family and Community Medicine. 4 years ago, we had a new chair who came on. Sorry. And most of the chairs, mostly, their responsibility is to lead and to make changes happen. She came with that in mind, but she also had a bigger vision. She wanted to bring people together, to hear their voices, to talk to them, to find out what the challenges are, and how can she focus on creating spaces to care for every human being in our world, in our city, in our country, in our province, as well as how can she train doctors to be good family doctors in the future, that they can care for everyone. As you know, Toronto is a very diverse population as well. More than half of our population is from different parts of the world. They weren't born in Toronto, so we do have quite a diverse population. So she organized, and first of all, I wanted to thank my Department of Family and Community Medicine for doing this work, and for me standing here today. As well, I'd like to thank Tara Jayaram, who is from the department as well, and she's helped family and community medicine. That's what the department focuses on, and how do we prepare doctors to care for our community. What the strategic plan came up with is that we first of all need to think of our communities. Who are the people living in our communities? We need to form relationships with people in our community, leaders, organizers. We need to bring them together, and we need to take leadership to plan action and take action and make things change, make things happen. And with that comes the broader aspect of the academic part of the healthcare. So there comes the education, the research, and high quality care. In that strategic plan as well, they are one of the recommendation is that they have to form meaningful relationship with every single aspect and unit in the Department of Family Community Medicine, so that each unit are aware and can address the issues of healthcare for the First Nations, the Inuit, and all the different other groups of Indigenous people live in our community. So this is us at the University of Toronto, the Department of Family and Community Medicine, taking action to meet the needs and care for the Indigenous population. And this is just a beginning. Next slide, please. Just good news on the Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th. Orange Shirt Day it's called. Our department celebrated a great day. As you can see on that slide, there is the department is celebrating a check for $5 million from an anonymous donor. We don't know who that person is. But this is the impact that the Faculty of Medicine is having in our community and our leaders, bringing them together. They're donating money to help to support Indigenous education and care for Indigenous population. From that $5 million, we're going to have an endowed chair of Indigenous health, which will work together with our existing Indigenous leadership circle. The picture beside that shows an elder grandmother, Alita Suave, who is from two Indigenous communities or nations, speaking with our vice dean in the dean's office, Lisa Robinson, who herself is from the Indigenous population. So here we're bringing the academic part of it as well. So I just want to extend our thanks to my chair for her incredible leadership and hard work in developing and getting funds to support this education. And to all our vice chairs in our department, our vice chair of education, vice chair of research, vice chair of global health. We have a global health department as well, that we are working together. Next slide, please. And this is just when you go into our lobby now in the department, you see the Department of Family and Community Medicine at the University of Toronto. You see a painting that was just donated to the department. Next slide, please. So that's welcoming our guest. Next slide, please. Yeah, and there is an image of that wolf, and that painting was should be given credit to Sean Howe, who her spirit name is Red Cedar Tree. And not only did she give us that painting, there's a few more that if you can scroll down to the next slide. So there's one with the bird and flowers and sun. There's another one. So there is another one. So these are paintings that are donated to our department to really help Indigenous education and to help prepare our doctors to care for the Indigenous population. So with that, some of the recommendations, if you don't mind going up to the slide where it says recommendations. Yeah, some of the recommendations we're suggesting is that this is not a humanitarian equity issue and a climate issue. It's a human rights issue. We need to bring our stakeholders together around the table and buy into an action plan. Wherever you are, whether it's different parts in Africa, in India, you need to bring your group together and work together. It's not easy, as we were hearing yesterday, where you have a plan and you have a minister or a leader comes in and they said, yes, we'll do this, and they give you $5 million, and the 4 years gone by, and then there's no one to carry out that vision. So as we're moving forward, we're making plans, let's include the young people as well, so they can continue carry out the plans. And yeah, the rest of it you can read, let's say, but we'll, yeah, that's great. And finally, I want to thank you all for giving us this platform to share the work of what we're doing in our department and what I'm doing within immigrant doctors and the students at the University of Toronto to help teach them about intercultural education. And I would like to invite you all to connect with the University of Toronto. We have a Department of Environmental, School of Environmental Studies. We have a School of Public Health. These programs, the OISE, which is the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, where I received my master's and my PhD as a lifelong learner, because I only got to school in the year 2000 to do my BA degree. And once I started that, I couldn't stop. I finished my BA in 2005. I was in school at the same time with my kids. They were embarrassed to have me in school. I finished my master's in 2009, and I'm going, I can't stop because I need to find answers to help the immigrant doctors and bring equity in education. So I finished my PhD in 2017, and within 3 weeks before that, two of my sons, who were also graduate with me, with a BA and BSc from the UST, graduated with their PhD from Yale University in the US and Cornell University. So we had 3 PhDs in the house, and my husband was saying, now, who do I call doctor? Because you're all doctor. So learning continues, lifelong learning. We share it with our families, with our friends, bring them together around the table, have food, just have a really good time. And you can enjoy the work you're doing and not feel that it's a burden, but you're doing it because you're passionate about it. And I would just like to encourage you all to get involved with the University of Toronto. Oh, the last one I was going to mention is at OISE, is the Indigenous network, education network. They have a lot of programs led by Indigenous leaders, and so I would encourage you to connect with us. We've got some UFT students here as well, talk to them, and yeah, we look forward to working with you. And just a couple of images here: keep oil in the ground, planet before profit. And Indigenous people are the unsung heroes of conservation. We have to conserve our land. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, let's appreciate Dr. Sinclair. Let's give a good round of applause. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We are looking forward to the future where Indigenous people will get free health care so that not a dime will come out of their pockets, and every human being as well. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on quickly to our next presentation. You are still welcome to stretch